Hello and welcome everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you for joining us today in our webinar titled Timesheets in the Age of AI. My name is Micha, the product manager at MyHours, and I'll be your host for this short and sweet session. We're going to explore how artificial intelligence is transforming the landscape of time tracking in businesses across various industries. During this short webinar, we'll take a look at the evolution of timesheets, starting from their beginnings as manual records to the digital formats we know today. We'll then jump into the exciting world of AI and its growing presence in the time tracking tools, offering innovative solutions to the long-standing issues that have haunted traditional timesheet systems. We'll discover the key features of AI-powered timesheets and how they can benefit businesses. So sit back, relax, and let's go. Before we jump into the AI era, let's take a step back and take a look at the brief history of timesheets. Back in the day, employees used to manually record their work hours on paper timesheets. They would jot down when they started and finished work, along with breaks and overtime. It was a simple system, but it had its fair share of drawbacks. Employees could easily make mistakes, and managers had to spend hours checking and calculating everyone's hours. Then in the beginning of the previous century, the mechanical time clock was invented, as you can see here. This handy device allowed employees to punch in and out with a time card, making it easier to track their hours. But as you can imagine, these machines weren't perfect either. Time cards could get lost or damaged, and still calculating hours was a time-consuming administration. Fast forward to the computer age, and we saw the introduction of spreadsheet software like Microsoft Excel. This made it easy for employees to log their hours digitally, and managers could calculate totals much faster within spreadsheets. However, lots of manual data entry was still required for employees as well as managers. Finally, we've arrived at the present day, the era of digital timesheets. With modern software and apps, employees can fill out their timesheets using their smartphones or computers. Managers can access real-time data and automate all the calculations. Plus, workflow-based timesheets like MyHours reduce errors and save time for everyone involved. We've come a long way since those old-fashioned paper timesheets. Even though timesheets still get a bad rep, ultimately the primary concern with timesheets is that they still require employees to learn a new interface, and often they don't function as smoothly as they should. Let's enter AI-powered timesheets. Companies have been promising some sort of AI-powered timesheets in all shapes and forms for quite some time. The most common solution involves installing software that could track the apps opened by employees and use machine learning algorithms to predict the projects or tasks that they were working on. These type of AI timesheets are highly effective in certain cases. But on top of these products being very expensive, they also aren't very useful in a number of use cases. The final outcome still needs manual data entry or updates, which require costly training for personnel. MyHours has been experimenting with machine learning and AI for the past 5 years. The result is the new timesheet chatbot called Andrew. It cannot predict your timesheets, and it cannot automatically track time, which, to be fair, no software really does. What it can do is transform a timesheet written in a natural language into a fully structured timesheet that managers can approve and report on. This innovation eliminates the necessity for costly timesheet training, as employees simply need to write down their activities and the number of hours spent on them. But enough of me describing it. Let's see it in action. Just a second. You'll find Andrew in the track section for daily or weekly timesheet. First, admins need to enable it in the account settings, and then all the users in the account can start using it. Let me walk you through it. Click Add Logs by Chat in this track section. And we can start by asking Andrew the list, all my assigned projects for Power. Now it takes some time to Andrew get all the projects and then structure it in a way that any user might understand it. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter, less time. So here we go. These are all assigned projects for the user that I'm currently signed in with, which is Jules. Next step is adding a timesheet. I have already prepared a prompt which says I worked today for 6 hours for Quentin on your website and 2 hours for Jackrabbit Slim, which is a client, and then some more. Click send, and now AI is preparing this timesheet for me. As you can see, in this case, I just entered the client. I don't actually need to present the project as well, as the Andrew will actually take care of that himself. While we're waiting, I can tell you that Andrew is powered by OpenAI's GPT-4 technology. And their CEO recently mentioned that they are actively working on speeding up their responses. But here we go. These are the individual time logs in the timesheet. If there's an issue, you can click Edit Prompt, and we can try again if there are some issues with it. But once we're satisfied, we can just click Create Time Logs, which will save those time logs into our account. Here we go. Now we have the full timesheet. Very soon, users will be able to just record their timesheet with their voice with MyHours mobile apps, or send it via email, or there are really a number of opportunities to leverage this new innovation coming out of Speak Up AI Labs. Let's move back to PowerPoint. I can imagine, just a second. I can imagine some of our tech-savvy listeners are being curious about the type of technology we're utilizing behind the scenes. Without going into too much detail, I can say that we are using OpenAI's latest GPT-4 model. We've fine-tuned AI queries in the background to get the best output from the model. We plan to refine these prompts to add more functionalities to it, like the ability to add start and end timestamps, and much more. In the last section of this webinar, I thought that we could look at a few trends that we're seeing. With a few trends that we are seeing with the emergence of AI in the workplace. First one is, of course, customer support. We've tested the Intercom's chatbot called Finn that used the knowledge in our help center to learn about MyHours functionalities. After 2 weeks our verdict was that it makes sense when the support team is overloaded with simple customer queries, especially in the e-commerce sector. Next trend is connected to the first one, which is GPT technology can intake loads of knowledge that might be hidden in various internal tools such as notebooks, CRMs, HRMs, and the chatbot can provide instant answers to employee questions that would otherwise require a lot of time and effort to gather from various sources within the company. This is especially useful in new employee onboarding and trainings. This next use case is a bit experimental, but digital advertising is a sometimes hit and miss game. And the ones testing more variations have advantage. And since generative AI can come up with almost unlimited marketing slogans and images, it could potentially offer a competitive advantage to those who embrace it early on. And lastly, because GPT is great at consuming and understanding thousands of words, it'll become a handy assistant to anyone handling large amounts of text, from summarizing long email threads after vacation to finding outliers in a swath of job applications. I'm already using it multiple times per week, most recently to prepare an outline in a few sections in this webinar. That's actually it. Before we jump into the QA session, I'll just recap today's talk. Even though digital timesheets are much better than historical pen and paper, they still have their own set of challenges, especially around staff training on a new software. That's why MyHours recently launched an innovative timesheet chatbot that does away with traditional timesheets and significantly decreases time to adopt new time tracking software. And the latest AI solutions built on GPT technology offer a multitude of applications in the workplace, extending beyond just time tracking. Now, if I can, I'd like to open the mic or comments from the audience. My video crashed. I'll just close it. I can open it again. Here we go. No, not everyone at once, please. I have a question for myself. Are there other areas in MyHours where AI could potentially save time for our customers? The answer is yes. As I mentioned before, we've dabbled in AI and machine learning for the past 5 years, and we already had a bunch of solutions, but we just thought that they weren't good enough. So one of those was, for example, helping, like being developing an assistant for approving or rejecting timesheets in a way where an AI could spot the outliers in a timesheet and then help the managers to, for example, find those weeks or users where their timesheets are just not good enough to be approved. The other use case we've just recently developed is, again, using the GPT technology to simplify the reporting, where a user could just ask an assistant, like GPT assistant, to they could ask, for example, which users have recently entered their timesheets, or which have missed past week timesheets, or how many hours were logged on a specific project. But in the end, we decided it just wasn't good enough for releasing it to customers, mainly because GPT technology is still not great at calculating the hours, etc., when you have a lot of data. So for this specific use case that I've presented today, we believe it's a really good solution. It's a great solution, actually. Any other questions? No more questions. Great. I don't have any questions for myself, so we can then conclude this session. No? Yeah, Eva. One question. We have one question. The chat. I need to open the chat. Okay. Will in the future everything be done with AI, with the use of chatbot or automated tracking, or there will be still need for manual entries? Oh, I see. You cannot unmute yourself. Yeah. It's hard to say. As I mentioned before, there are solutions out there that track and monitor users, like employees' computers. I think yes. In the future, we might try to find a solution with monitoring, yeah, kind of like tracking what the user does privately in their on their computer, and then using all of this data to automatically check the hours. But usually, what we've gathered from interviews with our customers and from the other researchers, the issue is that there's a lot of things going on beside just things in the computer. Like when you're walking around, maybe going to meetings in the office, you're not actually at the computer, and those things of course still need to be entered manually. So, and yeah, in the cases where there's lots of going arounds and you don't do all the things on the computer, there still needs to be, these things need to be added, these time logs need to be added manually. Yeah, that's mainly my answer. The next question is there any chance AI helps in prediction to prevent absenteeism or suggest schedule based on trained data? Yeah, that could also work. Yeah, and we've seen it in other tools as well. Currently, MyHours does not offer like a time off functionality, but when it does, this might be a very interesting problem to solve with AI. I agree. If you have follow-up questions to my answers, just let me know in the chat or just unmute yourself and I can explain a bit more. How does AI work when tasks are mandatory for the entry? It works the same as a regular tracking. You can tell Andrew which projects and tasks you are working on, and for example, if Andrew does not understand tasks, you can try again, reprompt them, and yes, if the tasks are not listed, when you want to create the time logs, it'll reject those time logs. So it still works similarly. I hope I've answered your question. The next question is the AI interface also available in the mobile MyHours? Currently not, but we are already designing the interface, and yeah, very soon it might be. Very soon it might be. Currently not, but you can let me know either in the chat or via our support team if you are interested in, and we'll take a note. Is this feature available for old installations, or the clients have to upgrade? This is already available to all MyHours accounts. There is no need to upgrade to anything. It's actually, MyHours is a web-based it's a web-based app, so there's no need to install anything in the first place. So yeah, it's instantly available to all users. So administrators need to go to account settings and enable it for themselves and their users as well. That's the only catch. Next question is, will employee monitoring be something MyHours does in the future? Hope not. Yeah, no. I mentioned monitoring a couple of times, but I do want to mention that if we do any kind of monitoring, it'll be only in like not monitoring so that the managers can actually monitor their employees. It's just so the employees themselves can use the data collected through the app monitoring, but this data will only be available to the employee themselves, and it will never be shared across teams to administrators or managers. If we do that, when we do that, we'll make sure that the privacy is at the forefront of this feature. Which SaaS solution from Spica support absenteeism issue? I'm not sure if I understand this question. Yeah, do you understand this question? I'm not sure if I understand this question. Could you repeat or maybe rephrase the question? Which SaaS solution from? Oh, I see that. I misunderstood the support. Yeah, so yes, we at Spica, we have another product called All Hours, and they are more focused on clocking in and clocking out, mainly for payroll, and they do have a very good solution for paid time off or absenteeism, and it's integrated in some fashion with MyHours as well. You're free to try it out for 2 weeks. That's it. I see there are no questions. If anybody has, you can unmute. Can they unmute themselves? No, they can only. Okay, yeah. You can send follow-ups questions either in chat, or you can just email me or email our support team with more of your questions. We recorded this webinar, so if you have, you can always rewatch it or send it to somebody else. If you have any issues with the recording, just let us know. We'll find another format or whatever. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the day. Bye.